Hi guys, I'm Adam Wilborn from What Culture.
And I'm Tony Bone from What Culture.
Happy Valentine's Day. I love you, Eric Bugenhagen. This is the news.
This is indeed the news, and story number one. We have an update on Ronda Rousey's WWE future. Now, obviously, this has been in the press quite a lot lately, ever since old Shagger Dave reported in the Wrestling Observer a few weeks ago that she is very likely done after WrestleMania 35. Now, there's been all kinds of speculation since then. We know that she's probably going to do a triple threat with Big Chaz Flair and Becky Lynch at WrestleMania 35, but Shagger Dave's colleague, friend of the channel, Brian Alvarez, has come out on Wrestling Observer Live stating that he is 85% certain that WrestleMania 35 will not be the end for Ronda Rousey, but she will only wrestle one more match after that. So, the current frame of mind is that she'll do the triple threat, and then she'll wrestle Becky on the May pay-per-view, which is currently penciled in as Backlash, and then presumably, leave to start a family.
That seems fair enough, and to be honest, that kind of solves all the problems in reality, isn't it? Because I think a lot of people are complaining, along with the fact that they're not happy that Charlotte has been inserted into the WrestleMania main event, which is sort of what they want. They want this backlash of, why is she in there? That's the whole point.
She's a heel. Like, you're supposed to be angry at her.
For once,
like,
this is the correct...
That's wrestling. That's how it works.
Yeah, for once, this is people being correct about who they're angry about being in the main event of WrestleMania. So, if you go by that formula, and fingers crossed Becky Lynch wins the belt by, as you mentioned yesterday, tapping out Charlotte, and you have a really good storyline there, and another match that everyone wants to see. I think Backlash could do really well if they put that as the main event as well.
Yeah, if that's the main event, I mean, you can finish off the Becky and Charlotte storyline in the triple threat at WrestleMania, and then you can finish off the Becky and Ronda storyline 1 month later. Ronda can go away, she can do her thing, and she can come back someday, and she'll have all kinds of fresh opportunities.
If they do that, talk about giving the rub to Becky there, beating both Charlotte and Ronda, and then Ronda on her own in a one-on-one match, that'd be fantastic.
That'd be pretty big.
Speaking of people leaving WWE, Shagger Dave is reporting that Vince McMahon doesn't like the optics of people leaving WWE. Yes, he's finally realised that people all over the world asking to leave your company isn't a good look. Yes, he apparently doesn't want the perception that guys want to leave WWE, which, you know, considering the atmosphere he's fostered in WWE for the past it's probably not something you can control, aside from limiting the amount of news that comes out about people wanting to leave. But especially now with AEW being this new competition that everyone is buzzing about, not a lot I can do about it.
Yeah, it strikes me as a gross amount of insecurity from Vince McMahon there.
Shock horror.
I mean, yeah, I know, surprise, surprise, right? But I mean, like, man, surely if you're worried about, like, the idea that people now see other viable options elsewhere, surely the best thing to do is to make your place the undeniable best option, and to do that, you probably have to switch things up a bit in WWE. Now, again, this is just further proof that AEW has reintroduced competition to the wrestling business. This is reportedly the reason why the Revival won the tag titles. It's apparently why Andrade's getting pushed. There are so many little bits and pieces. It's why WWE are trying to sign all these wrestlers up to contracts when their deals expire within the next 2 years. And the idea of Vince McMahon just kind of sitting there in his office, like looking at these AEW Google metrics go up and up and up, and listening to things like the Revival are unhappy, the Usos are unhappy, Dean Ambrose is leaving, all this stuff, and kind of shivering there crying in a corner is pretty fun.
I love the fact that this is the most typical Vince McMahon realises something far too late story ever. What? People want to leave WWE because of a horrible atmosphere and pushing the wrong people.
What do you mean? There's almost like there's another choice now. What's going on? But it's very exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Very, very exciting. And speaking of very exciting, how was that for a segue? The Women's Tag Team Championships, they debut this weekend at the Elimination Chamber in a match that has entirely too many people. There will be 12 people in that chamber. That's going to be bloody mental. Anyway, they're debuting, and there's an update from WrestleVotes, who reckon that the women's tag team titles, in order to solve the problem of perhaps the roster being a little bit thin, they're going to bounce between Raw and SmackDown, but not necessarily every single week. So the current plan WWE have is that they're going to have more talent crossover in general. We've seen Becky and Charlotte appearing on Raw. We will be seeing more things like that over the coming weeks and months. The tag titles will play into that. So you'd imagine, this is no great surprise, obviously. This is kind of what we've considered all along. But you'd imagine whoever wins it will go to Raw for a feud, come back a few months later, go to SmackDown for a feud without, working a crazy road schedule and appearing on every show.
I'm a big fan of it. Look, I know we have brand exclusive tag teams for the men, and eventually we may have that for the women, but for the time being, when you look at the talent, even the 6 teams they've put in the Elimination Chamber, it's not the strongest of tag teams, is it? They've just sort of gone, Naomi and Carmella, you two
You're friends
together.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's beneficial for them for not overstretching themselves, and it's also going to keep things fresh, like you say, in terms of the fact that you establish a tag team that does well on SmackDown, and then the tag team champions come over and fight them and what have you. I think it's good, and I always think interchangeable talent between Raw and SmackDown is going to be a good thing. It just keeps things unpredictable.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. I don't think it's simply a case of numbers. Like, I don't think there are enough women on Raw or SmackDown on their own to harbour a second women's division with the tag titles, but mixing them up works. It's a good idea. Perhaps they'll even throw them into NXT. You could get like Kairi Sane and Io Shirai. They've been teaming up lately.
That would be
the Horsewoman, obviously.
That would be really,
cool.
really good to see.
Cool.
Final piece of news today. Well, actually, before a major New Japan announcement. Before we get to that, though, a big announcement about Total Divas. Ronda Rousey and Sonya Deville are going to be joining the cast of Total Divas from next season, but we are going to be losing the Bellas and Paige from Total Divas.
As well as Rusev and Lana.
And they are going to be continuing to do their own Total Bella series and producing Total Divas. But yes, they will not be on the show. Ronda Rousey makes a lot of sense to get a big name on there. Sonya Deville is an interesting one as well.
Sonya Deville is an interesting one because obviously she's a rising star. She's still making a name on SmackDown. She's very young, still improving, blah, blah, blah. But I'm going to put my hair up, I don't have much of it, and square up right now because I think this is a really positive move. I think Sonya Deville has great potential to be a really positive role model in the wrestling community as an LGBTQ ambassador. She is a very positive role model. She is somebody that is going to have a long, prosperous career with the company. She's already very good at this young age.
Yes.
And for her to kind of get this exposure level and breakthrough on Total Divas, as Mandy Rose did back in the day, when she was known as Amanda, this is only going to be good for her career, right?
Yeah, exactly. And
the couple.
Pressing up the people appearing on Total Divas is always good, and it always made more sense, I think, to have the Bellas on Total Bellas and not on Total Divas and allow them to establish exactly acts and further showcase them to the audience. Couple.
We've made an absolute shambles of this.
Right, let's move on. I'm going to strap in for this big New Japan announcement.
Right, this is a big one.
Go on.
So the news broke this morning at 8:30. As we already knew, New Japan are coming back to the UK for their first ever. They had shows last year, but they were co-promoted by RevPro. This year, the one coming up in August 31st at the Copper Box Arena in London is the first sole New Japan show in the UK ever. And they had a wee announcement this morning stating basically, not an abundance of details here, but the show is called Royal Quest. I have the logo here. The wonderfully talented Adam Nicholas will presumably pop it up on the screen. We have some details. They basically say here that 3 of our top Japanese wrestlers have been confirmed that they will be on the card and they will be bringing New Japan Pro Wrestling's fighting spirit to the heart of the UK's capital. But then they go on to say we will let you know who they are next week at the same time as we announce ticket details. So a few slivers of information there, but the idea that they're bringing 3 top stars is pretty interesting. Me and the great Michael Hamflett were at the UK
take my
show.
seatbelt off for that. Wasn't that big of an announcement?
Well, me and the great Michael Hamflett were at the UK shows last August or September, I think it was, in Altrincham, and there was guys like Okada, Minoru Suzuki, Tomohiro Ishii on the card.
Did you bump into Okada at like a bus stop or something?
Yoshihashi, actually. We did bump into Okada at a bus stop as well. But we also saw Yoshihashi. They all went to dinner in a restaurant. Yoshihashi, a minute later, came out of the hotel, couldn't find them. We watched him walk around the streets while we were eating chicken nuggets in the streets of Altrincham for about 5 minutes. We didn't have the heart to go up to him because he's 2 massive, scary British guys. He would bloody well, he'd probably beat us up, to be fair. And eventually, he gave up looking for them, and he settled for a takeaway and presumably a wank in his hotel room.
Whoa! Move on. I did not expect that. Let's move on to today's Twitter questions. Don't forget you can tweet them at us at
What is this video?
What Culture WWE. Let's start with El Tavo Ruiz on Twitter, who says, do you think Daniel Bryan will lose his title at WrestleMania or just before the Saudi Arabia show, since he probably doesn't want to go? Hashtag this is the news.
Ooh, that's a very good point, isn't it? They could well do that because Daniel Bryan's not going to compete in Saudi Arabia again, especially not with that hemp belt. I think he might have smoked that hemp belt by then. I think that there's a very strong chance that WWE will actually keep the belt on him, and as absurd as this is, try to use Daniel Bryan to turn the Saudi Arabian show's babyface.
What?
I think, because you know the whole thing they're doing is that Daniel Bryan is genuinely making good points. We should be less consumerist, we should be looking after the planet, but he's doing it in a really condescending way. I think on air, they're going to turn the backlash that those shows have had and have Daniel Bryan kind of preach against them and hope that people will see them as a good thing, because WWE are stupid.
Yeah, I can't see them taking the belt off him just for a Saudi Arabia show, or at least I hope not. I can see them doing something like that now you say it, or even just at the bare minimum, him saying, I'm not flying to Saudi Arabia, that's going to damage the planet even more, I will defend the title here.
No planes. Good shout.
Let's move on next to Alexander Katapodis. Sorry if I got that wrong.
I'm not laughing at Alexander Katapodis, I'm laughing at Adam Nicholas making funny signs behind the camera.
He says, if you guys could bring back the Brood to any wrestling promotion, past or present, to feud with a stable, how would you do it?
Oh, how would you bring back the Brood? Well, it's got to be some kind of mad goth angle, hasn't it? Perhaps some kind of churchyard resurrection. Gangrel, he's back. Edge and Christian are apparently dead. He resurrects them, he gets the garlic out of the way, no stakes through the goddamn heart. I would have them feud with Raven's Flock, because that would be just grimy and grungy and weird. Goths versus smelly stoner skater grunge guys. I'm into that.
I like the idea of them all coming up a la Aleister Black, so I've just sort of written it that way around.
That's good.
So Aleister Black is getting the crap beaten out of him, as has been happening on NXT by the Undisputed Era. He needs a team to come in and save him. They've got a 4-on-4 there straight away. Edge, Christian Gangrel and Aleister Black versus the Undisputed Era, and I just like the mental image of all of the Undisputed Era covered in blood, basically. And just imagine, someone like a Kyle O'Reilly with his facial expressions when he gets, I want to say gunged, that's not it, that's Get Your Own Back from
Pat Sharp.
Great British TV.
Shout out to the legend.
I know, Get Your Own Back was Dave Benson Phillips.
Oh shit.
Oh man.
Just sworn there as well, that's good.
But yes, I'll have them feud with the Undisputed Era.
Sorry, Adam,
final question today, in honour of Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day to you. Comes from Dina Emanuel, who says, who are some of your favourite wrestling couples? Apart from this one, obviously.
The iconic duo,
Indeed.
Obviously. Favourite wrestling couples. Randy and Elizabeth.
Of course.
Sentimental one, Goldust and Marlena.
Oh.
And you know what? The Miz and Maurice.
Oh, you're good, you're close. The better couple was, of course, Maurice and Ted DiBiase, because you could really believe in that relationship.
He comes from money.
The Miz and Maurice is actually relationship goals for myself and my fiancée.
Or specifically, the Miz and Maurice dressed up as John Cena and Nikki Bella.
Indeed, yes. And the other wrestling couple that I have to mention, because they play it so well, and it's still genuine, obviously, but it also works as part of their storyline, and I wish they'd done more with them, aside from his issues away from the ring. I wish they'd done more with them on the main roster. And that is Mike and Maria Kanellis. Ooh. Their entrance theme is a joy to behold, and their whole smoochy, overbearing, it is absolutely fantastic. And of course, I should say, Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles. Not the healthiest relationship they had, was it? Okay, let's move on to today's and finally.
Wendy
and we are going to go back in time for a news report from 1986. This day.
I wasn't even born
in
then.
1986. Neither was I. Michael Hamflett was like 20. But, 1986, February 14th. Okay, so that's what, 20? No, more than that. 33 years ago.
Yep.
33 years ago.
Yep.
I'll just read you the headline. It says, wrestler shows all in brief appearance. Thanks to the guys at Squared Circle for this one. It's reported that says it was some out of the ring action in the early hours of Thursday morning in Fresno. The highlight of the show, says the news report, according to Fresno police, was when Cowboy Bob Orton, all 6 feet 3 inches tall and 252 pounds of him, stood nude on the 5th floor balcony outside his room at the Holiday Inn Centre Plaza, challenging officers. And another little tidbit here. Rowdy Roddy Piper and Dan the Magnificent Muraco were there as well. They had a disturbance at the Old Fresno Hofbrau just shortly before 2 a.m. According to police, a patron at the Old Fresno was seated at the bar when a man later identified as Rowdy Roddy Piper picked him up off a stool and slammed him to the floor. I love you, Roddy Piper.
Well, a couple of things come out of that. I love that they've written it as Dan the Magnificent Muraco. Good one, guys. Also, it's not like a relative of Randy Orton to do anything a little crazy, is it?
Indeed. Any more old school, funny wrestler news stories, please send them my way on Twitter. I'm at Adam Wilborn. You can follow him on Twitter at
Andy H. Murray, but on today's evidence, probably don't do that.
And you can follow our lovely editor, Adam Nicholas, at Adam Nicholas. You can follow us all on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and check out our wrestling podcast by searching for What Culture Wrestling on either iTunes or Spotify. My thanks to Andy Murray. Thank you for watching. Happy Valentine's Day. Tell someone you love them today. We will see you soon.
I love you, mate.
I love you.
Come, Paul.